It's tax season, and at LifeLock, we know you're tired of numbers. But here's a big one you need to hear. Billions. That's the amount of money in refunds the IRS has flagged for possible identity fraud. Now here's another big number. 100 million. That's how many data points LifeLock monitors every second. If your identity is stolen, we'll fix it guaranteed. One last big number. Save up to 40% your first year. Visit LifeLock.com/podcast for the threats you can't control. Terms apply.
This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
Basically, my motto came from some of the personal traumatic experiences that I went through. Obviously, my mom's death, my grandfather's death, and also going through like a really bad marriage. All of that, I think in a sense, it inspired me to create my case, which I actually call this my Casey Warrior Creed: rise above drama, rise above hate.
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating. Year after year through the rain and the sun, learning that faith is what makes us strong.
The kick is up, and the kick is good afternoon, and welcome back to the Superfan Diaries. I'm your host, J.R. Green. This is a show about more than wins and losses. It's about the stories behind the Superfans, and today's story is one of heart, legacy, and impact. Before there was a costume, before there was a name like KC Warrior, there was a grandfather, a living room in Kansas City, and a lesson about being loud, not just in football, but in life. After his grandfather passed away in 2017, today's guest took grief and turned it into purpose, using fandom as a way to lift people up, serve his community, and keep a legacy alive. From Chiefs Kingdom to community outreach, this fan didn't just inherit a team, he inherited values. Get ready for one of the most meaningful superfans in the NFL, Zachariah Partney, better known as the KC Warrior. Welcome to the show, Zachariah. How are you doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. Thanks for having me on here.
And I wasn't going to miss it. And I appreciate the makeup and everything else. I know YouTube viewers are going to love it. And as I was just telling you earlier in the green room, this is the first time I've actually had a chance to wear the tux. And to be fair to everybody out there listening, yes, this is a new tux. I'm not able to fit into the old tux. Zachariah, have you read any of the stories about the big orange tux moment? I actually had a tux 28 years ago now in 1998 that I wore on the field at the University of Tennessee football game. And sadly, Zachariah, I cannot fit in that anymore. But the good news is it's on display at the Graduate Hotel in Knoxville, Tennessee. So everyone can now see the original tux that I obviously can't fit in, but there's a little bit of magic in that tux. So I'm at least excited to be able to be uniformed up with you today. So let's just jump right into it. Growing up in the Kansas City area, what were Sundays like in your household?
Let's just say Sundays at the Partney household in South Kansas City was just pretty basic and pretty simple. And, well, obviously we would have the TV on to Chiefs football on CBS, or if it was on Fox or it was on NBC back in the day. Yeah, those days it was amazing. And I think in a sense, thanks to my grandfather, it was just being a Chiefs fan was more than just being a fan. It was just, as you mentioned,
Yep.
It was about family values and sticking to what you believe in and keeping those values, not just in your heart, but in your soul as well.
Absolutely. Well, tell us about your grandfather, and not just as a Chiefs fan that obviously brought some of those memories together, but who was he when football wasn't on?
Well, my grandfather, his name was James Robert Brewer. My grandfather was just a simple person. He was a man of tremendous faith, and he understood the values of life. I guess you can sense my grandfather was sort of like just your typical person, like a blue collar person, just going to work and then just coming home, just spending time with the people that he loved the most. My grandmother, my aunt and uncle, which his kids, and also his grandkids, myself included. So my grandfather was next to my mom and to my dad and everyone else in the Partney clan. My grandfather was one of the people that was sort of the glue to what we all believed in regards to faith, family, and everything else included.
Well, I just know you're so fortunate because I know there's lots of other folks out there that don't have the opportunity to have a grandmother or a grandfather. And for those of us lucky enough, and, I can also relate. I mean, Zachariah, my grandfather, growing up, my dad was not always around. He was incredibly busy with his career. And my grandfather was like a part of my life. And I know that I even got into golf. I didn't want to even golf. And I'm not even a really good golfer today, but he forced me to play golf because he loved golf and he was incredibly into his faith. And I know that just having that role model in my life was just second to none, priceless. And I think it helped me to become who I am today. But for you, tell me this, what was one lesson that your grandfather taught you that had nothing to do with sports?
I think one lesson that he taught me, well, it's very similar to what my mom taught me is just to be a man of integrity. And just, if you want to treat others, you got to treat others the way you want to be treated, just to be kind and not just be a man of integrity, but be a man of selflessness. And if you do that, I mean, that kindness and that selflessness is going to go a long way.
Well, if you take this and, for our listeners out there and you close your eyes and you picture him during a game, what do you see him doing?
Oh, let's just say that when it came to Chiefs football, my grandfather, like either if it was at a game or if it was at his house in Independence, there'd be a bunch of cheering and also pretty much like what it is today, just yelling at the refs for making a bad call and so forth. But
Absolutely.
When it came to Chiefs football, my grandfather was just straight up like no nonsense, keeping his eye on the game and just seeing what was going on. And I got that from him and it pretty much just trickled down from there. So he was no nonsense when it comes to Chiefs football.
Well, that image feels really alive. I mean, I'm thinking about it right now, just picturing what he was doing, watching those games, the intensity that I can relate to, and so many people listening on the show can. Well, jumping into this, like moments that change life and everything that changes things. After your grandfather passed in 2017, what was the quietest moment for you? The one that no one else saw.
Well, I think the quietest moment for me was, and around the time when my grandfather passed, it also coincided around the time 10 years earlier that I lost my mom to cancer, and losing both my mom and my grandfather was very, very difficult. And for me, that quiet moment was just to sit back and try to do what you can to not only continue to be a man of integrity, but also to honor the values that both of them had instilled in me, and also sharing those values with not only just my peers, but also especially to the kids and whatnot. So, and I think part of that is what got me to becoming this super fan, the Casey Warrior persona.
Yeah.
And through what I do, when there's Chiefs games not going on during the off season, I use that in part of my motto, which I'll explain in a little bit. And so just to honor them and to remember them, and also to, as I mentioned, just to share their wisdom to others.
Yes. And I have to say, so many of us can relate to this, but was there a time when football stopped feeling fun for a while?
Well, I think for me, when I lost my mom in 2007 to cancer, that was pretty much, in a sense, when you lose someone that's so close to your heart, that's like a dagger that just like stabs you. And even though the wound heals, like the scar remains. And for me, it was just that point where I just didn't really care about anything, because losing someone like that, it was just, it takes hard. It's really difficult for someone to lose someone close to you, to come to terms with that. And
right.
I think for me, it took me, I don't know, 3 or 4 years to finally get myself back to the person that I was before she passed away. And with my grandfather still being around, having him and my grandfather just to look up to them to try to guide me through that tumultuous time. So just that, losing my mom and was just as difficult.
Well, the passion I get from you is that with your mother and then your grandfather, I mean, this sounds like beauty and grief showing up in everyday places. And
oh yeah, absolutely.
And I think one of the biggest things we've all, heard just already and can experience is big things happen. And I think that's where, when you think about the birth of KC Warrior. When did the idea of KC Warrior first come to you?
So it started back in early 2017. My grandfather, unfortunately, had passed away from stroke complications. It wasn't just one, it was two. I do remember the last time that I saw my grandfather. He couldn't speak, but he still recognized me. And like, I was trying to talk to him and, just to say I love him, because I knew his time was coming. And when he died, as I mentioned earlier, it was a really struggle for me to come to terms with that. And also it coincided with my mom's passing a decade prior. So I wanted to take my Chiefs fandom up another level, but at the same time, wanting to honor the wisdom that my mom and my grandfather had instilled in me. And my ex-wife, who I was dating at that time, it was a joke at first, but she said to me, "Why not just be a super fan?" And as I said, I thought it was a joke at first, but
Zachariah, it's not every day I hear someone on a show tell folks about an ex-wife adding value, and you just did.
Well, it is true. But as time went on, I was thinking about it a lot, and I said to myself, maybe I'll definitely look into this. And so one day I was browsing on YouTube, and I actually came across a video of one of my favorite professional wrestlers that I grew up watching as a kid.
Yes, I read this, The Ultimate Warrior.
The Ultimate Warrior. And one of the promos that he did was a promo before his WrestleMania 6 match with Hulk Hogan, which was the title.
I remember this, Zachariah. This is bringing memories back.
Yep, it was the title match. And one of the promos, he had his face painted in red, gold, black, which is three of the Chiefs' four primary colors. Oh. And I saw that, and I thought to myself, "Wow, I could definitely give this a try." And and to add to it, one of my good friends who lives at the Lake of the Ozarks, his name is Jamie Killam. Okay. He goes by Casey Stinger. He paints his face like Sting, the wrestler, and he wears like a gold wig, a Goku wig from Dragon Ball Z, which we're big fans of Dragon Ball Z.
We got to get this guy on the show too.
Oh, absolutely. We talked about it, and he said, "Yes, you should definitely do this Ultimate Warrior persona for Chiefs games." And so, I think it was later that year. It was the last Chiefs home game of that season, which I debuted my Ultimate Warrior gimmick while I was out tailgating with my ex-wife and some of our friends, and it just, I guess in a sense, it just took off. And how I got the name KC Warrior? Well, I was throwing some names out, and one I had in mind was a Weekend Warrior, which I actually which I still have today. I had a shirt that said Weekend Warrior with the arrowhead emblem on it, and then later on, I decided, you know what, KC and Warrior, it just blended. It just blended.
It just goes. Perfectly. It just layers.
So
like a hot dog.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I guess, as the late great Keith Jackson, God rest his soul, would once say, the rest is history.
Oh, I love it. Now, any connection? Did you ever get to watch any WrestleMania with your grandfather? I mean, like any connection did you have any passion toward the Ultimate Warrior or any infusion there?
No. My passion for wrestling actually started from watching. My passion for watching wrestling actually came from my cousins. They were big wrestling fans, especially from the Federation years when you had like Hulk Hogan, you had The Undertaker, you had a $1 Million Man Ted DiBiase, you had Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig, and all those.
Andre the Giant, baby, he's a part of that too.
And I basically just got into that very well, and I knew it was fake, but wrestling is fake. But just watching that kind of entertainment, I was very, very appeased by that.
Well, I tell you one thing, Zachariah, at some point, we're going to definitely bring some super fans of wrestling on here. And you're exactly right. It is definitely staged. But my goodness, if you've ever watched some of those events, it's gymnastics with steroids and football all combined together. And these guys can get really hurt, because they're doing, circus acts. So it may be a little P.T. Barnum-ish, but it's entertaining. And I love that it helped create the name KC Warrior. So tell everybody out here, the first time you suited up as KC Warrior, you showed up at Arrowhead. Did you feel like you're putting on armor, or was it a way to become connected to so many other fans?
Well, I guess at first, I think it was just, as I mentioned, it was like a way not only to connect with fans, but also to, as I mentioned, to honor my mom's memory and also my grandfather's memory. And it's funny because I do remember walking into we were done tailgating and we were walking into the stadium. I had there were several Chiefs fans that pointed to me and said, "Hey, look, is that the new Ultimate Warrior?" And
there you go. That's exactly what you wanted.
And it was crazy because a lot of fans see the paint and would just basically just recognize the Warrior face paint. And I think and in a sense, I also wanted to do this to pay homage to the Ultimate Warrior. Well, he's been gone since 2014, but just instilling the Warriors' values and with my family's values into that makes my character not just amazing, but just also be inspiring.
I love it. I love it. So what emotions surprised you the most in that moment of becoming the KC Warrior? Because you described it like, oh man, there's the new Warrior. But, what's the biggest emotion that, really, surprised you?
I think one of the things that really inspires me with doing this face paint, I think in a sense, not just the power and the impact, but also using this to pretty much using my super fan persona to reach out to people in need, especially kids and whatnot. So, and even having kids and teens and young adults look up to me and saying, if he could if that guy can do something amazing and to do something so inspiring, why can't I? So having that kind of influence to others pretty much really warms my heart inside and out.
I love it. Well, it sounds like KC Warrior wasn't just created to be seen. It was created to be a part of something special, a way to pay it forward, and almost a new way to live.
Yes.
We got to jump to an ad break. It's time for a quick one, and we'll be right back with KC Warrior.
Don't chew on that, Max.
Cooper loves that chew, too.
Oh, now he's into Cooper's food. Wow, he is loving it. What do you feed Cooper?
Blue Buffalo Life Protection Formula. He never leaves a crumb. I love it because it's made with high-quality protein, nutrient-rich fruits and veggies, and wholesome whole grains.
Looks like we're switching to Blue.
Blue Buffalo foods are made with the superior ingredients your dog needs to thrive. Can your dog food say that? Visit feedbluefood.com to learn more.
Walmart Business is in the business of saving you time, money, and hassle. Whether your business started in a garage or is a garage, Walmart Business has the tools to help you get where you're going. Tools like free shipping, multi-user accounts, and just about any item your company needs.
Even a double filtration cyclone dust collector.
Yep, even that.
Sweet.
Walmart Business. It's the Walmart you love, now for your business. Learn more at business.walmart.com. Terms apply.
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating.
Welcome back. And we are here with Kansas City legend KC Warrior. And now time for us to jump into what if grief could become a gift? But before we do that, which is a beautiful question, I just went back in the studio and I found something for KC Warrior that had been literally sitting on the studio, probably collecting dust. And it's for all you out there that want to see what it is. Yes, that's an original Ultimate Warrior doll or call it collectible. But it's pretty cool that right here on the show, talk about time, I'm sitting here with KC Warrior, who's paying homage to the Ultimate Warrior. And I mean, this is just by chance. Here at our studio, we've got this literally in one of the decks in one of the studio in terms of placement. So I just wanted to courteously, I had to make sure to show this to you, KC, because I knew you might appreciate it.
That's absolutely amazing.
Just love that I have it. Love it back. All right. All right. Well, we're going to jump into a different segment here, just in terms of what you went through and how special it is. You know, we asked that question before I interrupted it with a less serious element of showing a Funko toy, but, you know, really jumping into what if grief, you know, ultimately can become a gift. And if I think through just transformation, purpose, you know, going through that pain into like driving the service, you know, a philosophy is born. I mean, your motto, of which I've read about, and I think you've told some of the folks before we work with, rise above drama, rise above hate. Where did all that come from?
Well, basically my motto came from some of the personal traumatic experiences that I had went through. Obviously my mom's death, my grandfather's death, and also going through like a really bad marriage, which I won't get into. All of that, I think in a way, it kind of, in a sense, it inspired me to create this, create my case, which I actually call this my Casey Warrior Creed: rise above drama, rise above hate. But also part of it is always believe in yourself, because like I mentioned earlier, I want like others to like look up to me and like to say like, hey, if he could do what he says he's going to do, that could be very inspiring, and also let me to believe in myself. And the other part, the end of it, is put all negativity to waste. You know, like when you see like some stuff on social media where it's like all of it is just nothing but hate and negativity and people trying to like bring you down, whether and whatnot. I just like say, hey, block that out.
And it's hard. Zachariah, that is hard to do. I'm just telling you,
is
in this world that we're both in, but like in the world in general, just my own daughter, you know, in a classroom and hearing the drama, like you just say, as part of your motto, it's massive, even at high schools. And you know, that negativity, especially with social media, Zachariah, it's becoming just omnipresent. So I think the mission you have is so powerful on so many levels.
Oh yeah.
And I look at that and I say, you know, just looking at you, was there a moment in your life when you're fighting back and you're pushing against all those pieces to follow your KC Warrior Creed? Was there a moment in your life when you didn't believe that message yet?
I guess you can, in a sense, with I think it based pretty much one particular moment that I do remember was I guess in a sense back in 2023 when I was pretty much putting myself out there to hopefully become NFL Fan of the Year. If in case you don't know what that is.
We do, but please tell our listeners again.
Yeah. So since 2020, the NFL has done this Fan of the Year contest where they recognize fans, not just for their fandom, but also what they do throughout the community. And with that, like, you get recognized by your team. And on top of that, you also get an opportunity to go to the Super Bowl with a person of your choice. And it was back in 2023, I put my name out there and got some people to nominate me and everything. And unfortunately, I didn't get nominated. And got to a point where and it took me like pretty much several weeks to, you know, to say, hey, just get back up and do it again, except just not only show your super fandom, but also like get out there, do what the others are doing, like get out in the community and talk about your story, and also like as I mentioned, use your story to inspire others. So learning that, not getting nominated, in a sense, it kind of like pushed me back a little bit, but as time went on, it got me back to where I wanted to do what I do best, raise money and for charities, and be an inspiration to others.
Well, you know, the saying is always, you know, you got to focus on yourself before you can help others. And, you know, you think about your motto. I look at it, you know, the question I have right back to you is, who needed to hear that motto first? Was it the community or you?
I think it was a combination of both. Leaning back to where I was as a person up to that point, and also seeing like seeing a person who knows may have um, had a traumatic experience very similar to me. So as I mentioned, learning, showing people, like telling people my motto and what it's about, and it'll, as I said, be an inspiration to them, and to continue moving forward.
And it clearly has. I mean, when did you first realize people weren't just seeing a fan, but they were seeing an example?
I think it pretty much started when I began to create, like, not just shirts of my warrior logo and my motto, also creating patches, which if you can see.
Oh yes, we can see.
Yes,
it. Yes, this is there. That looks great.
Yep, this is one of them. But not only that, I also been using these patches, creating these patches to not only to sell them, but to raise money for certain causes. One cause that's near and dear to my heart is autism awareness, which is in the month of April. Why the autism awareness is so important to me is because, well, I don't really tell anybody this, but I'm autistic. I was diagnosed at the age of 7, and I guess into a true sense of the word, it has been stigmatized somewhat in the media. Like, people don't really understand it as much. So what I do, I try to explain, not only just explain my experiences being in the spectrum, but also just to tell kids that, hey, just because you may be different than your peers, it doesn't mean that you can't learn to dream big and do like the bigger things you want to do in life. In fact, if I remember correctly, there's like many celebrities that are also in the spectrum, like Steve Jobs, God rest his soul, Dan Aykroyd, and many others. So I just want to like tell people, hey, being autistic, you may look at it as a curse,
right? Like
I used to when I was growing up, but I look at it now as a blessing
or a superpower,
sort of, you could say, like superpower and stuff. So yeah.
Well, I mean, first off, thank you for sharing this with me and for our listeners, because you know that autism is a situation that impacts, it is talked about in the media, and it absolutely has a wide range of how people connotate or understand autism. And it is something with so many parents today have children with autism, and they're trying to manage it. And it can be, as we personally both, and clearly with you personally having it, but our families have so many friends that have, severe autism. And Zachariah, as we all know that are, maybe listening, there's a wide range of individuals with autism at a level to where you and I can carry on this amazing, beautiful, powerful conversation. But there's also some levels of autism where this would not be possible. That the sensory elements in terms of how you're communicating, we wouldn't be able to have that. And so it's such a big extreme, which I think also, just in essence, it jumps into behavioral health, Zachariah. And I don't know if you know a lot about my background there outside of being the big orange tux guy, but my father, while I did mention earlier in the show that I didn't get to spend a lot of time, well, he also was a psychiatrist. And he was a MD, a chairman of a department of multiple departments at the University of Tennessee, a chairman of psychiatry. So I got exposed, at a very young age to working within mental illness, and then ultimately helped build an organization that treats thousands of patients, and many that actually have autism. And we do everything in our power to help the child, even the adults and their family members, because it's not just one person. When individuals have a mental health illness, a lot of people, and if you think about it, Zachariah, and you're going to be able to relate to this, and especially with your upbringing, the beautiful closeness you had with your family, when someone has a mental illness, it doesn't just impact that one individual. It has a macro impact. Family, doctor, friends, fans sitting next to you, everyone. When you break your leg, it's just you and your spouse, ex-wife, whomever you need to partner with. But really, it's limited in terms of the number of people that are impacted when you break your leg versus having any form of mental illness or behavioral health challenge. And I think one of the biggest things, the stigma is I do believe disappearing. I can tell because more people feel very comfortable coming to me and let me know I have depression, I may be bipolar, may have autism, all these different types of illnesses. And I know that just with that, I feel that the individuals that I've met that embrace it, that embrace that mental health, just as we discussed earlier, and make it a superpower. I think everybody in the world knows, and Zachariah, no kidding aside on this, I believe I have ADHD. Now, I'm too old to go through treatment and management like that, and I'm sure people listening are going, you're never too old. You can get treatment. And they're like, definitely, JR, please do not drink coffee. But I think that, the hyperactivity that comes from that, it's the passion, and I definitely utilize it as a superpower, just as you have done. And I think the question I have after just kind of going through that whole background around mental health is, was there ever, a point or fear in you and putting your heart behind this cause that means so much to you publicly?
Well, I think up to this point, I haven't had like a fear that I would just be like brushed to the side and having people say, hey, you need to like shut your mouth and everything. I have had some people, I will say this though, I have had some people when I do my warrior videos talking about this and everything would just like laugh at it and just be like, oh, look at this guy, look at this super fan, the next Chiefsaholic or everything. But
now, we do not want to compare you to Chiefsaholic. Let's just make sure for
no.
listeners that is such an opposite. Those are two spectrums of difference right there. Casey Warrior and Chiefaholic. We won't even put him on the show.
Absolutely not. But other than that, I've had a lot of people, I've had some people like say very positive stuff about the things I'm doing, raising awareness for things close, not just autism awareness, but when you were talking about mental health, suicide prevention is another thing that I
ask you about this,
that I talk about as well. And that too is a topic that is all too, like autism awareness is all too often stigmatized, not just in politics, but also in the community, and so forth. So that's one thing I still want to continue to push to people, as to say, hey, as I mentioned, you may be different, but that doesn't mean you can't learn to dream big. And with suicide prevention, if someone is going through some mental health issues, I'd say, hey, no matter how sad or lonely or angry you feel, taking your own life isn't going to solve anything. In fact, how are the people that care about you going to feel whenever you're gone? I mean, so I say to that, listen, I've been through that before, and I say, hey, continue to push forward, because there are people that care about you, want you to succeed. And with suicide prevention, hey, why do you see that semicolon? That's a sign that your story isn't over.
Beautifully said. Like a lot of the words you're saying, it's hard to even respond. And I also know, besides the suicide awareness, autism activism, that, in terms of autism awareness, the activity you're doing there, I believe you also are focused on fentanyl awareness as well.
Yes.
How did you come about with that?
Well, it pretty much started when I had a good friend of mine from the Lake of the Ozarks. She had her oldest daughter had I kind of feel bad saying this. She had lost her daughter to that drug, and it wasn't just that. I had like a couple of other people that I've been close to lose their lives to. In fact, my former boss back in 2018, he and his wife had lost their lives to that. And so it pretty much pushed me to add fentanyl awareness to one of my causes. And one of the organizations that I've been donating money to with the sales of my patches, and also doing auctions and whatnot. One of them is the Voices for Awareness Foundation, which is based out in Colorado. They not only take donations, but they also talk about a lot of activities around not just around Colorado, but also around the country. In a sense, they also give out a lot of resources with what you need to do in case there's someone that's that has a drug in their system, and what to do, and some tips and what. So
wonderful. Well, and I think with this impact that you're having across those four causes that we just heard here on the show, what was the most beautiful response you've ever received from someone you've helped?
Well,
because you've helped a lot of people.
I have one in particular, which I'm sure you can find this video in my Instagram. it was last year during the summer. I was asked by a couple that I've been friends with for quite some time. They have an 8-year-old who was diagnosed with autism. Not only he's a big Chiefs fan, but he's a big fan of my KC Warrior persona. In fact, she told me that he would always look forward to not only watching the games, but he would also look forward to seeing one of my KC Warrior videos that I upload 24 hours prior to kickoff, and which paint my face and talk about the upcoming matchup, and he would be really looking forward to it. And so I came up with the idea to not only wanting to meet him in person, but what I also did was I gave him a little gift, which with one of the gifts I gave him, well, the sleeves that I'm wearing with the shoelaces, which
they look like tassels. Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. I had a friend of mine who lives in Pratt, Kansas, who not only who made these. The favor that I asked her was to make some autism awareness KC Warrior sleeves with blue.
Yes.
With
great. Thank you for putting it up there for everybody. Yes.
With my autism awareness patch sewn onto them, and the tassels be autism awareness colors. And so I presented it to him, and he just beamed. It was just so amazing. And his dad pulled me aside, and he was crying so much and saying, "Zach, that is so amazing what you do." And later, and the following day, I posted the video all over my social media platforms, and you can imagine the amount of amazing comments that I had gotten, and people sharing and reposting it all over. It was really amazing.
Did it feel heavy, or did it feel empowering?
I would say it felt more empowering than heavy, because for me, that was me showing that kind of integrity that my mom and my grandfather had instilled in me. And as I mentioned earlier, giving this kid, his name is Jace, by the way, giving Jace a sense of encouragement and to show that, hey, as I mentioned, you may be different, but hell, you got people that love you and people that want you to succeed. And heck, I'm succeeding. I mean, why can't you?
Amazing. At some point, KC Warrior stopped being about just football and became about showing up for people who needed hope.
Of course.
Well, it's time to take a little break here. Be sure, folks, to let you know all of the comments from today from Zachariah, all of his organizations that he supports are available for you to view on superfandiaries.com. So head out, take a look at that site. You can read more about Zachariah, as well as all of these incredible stories. Get to know more about him, his Instagram, all those things will be posted there. And guess what, folks? We'll be right back for some more.
Kraft Mac and Cheese is better than 90s hip-hop. We'll remind you of your childhood without making you feel incredibly old. Kraft Mac and Cheese. Best thing ever.
Your planet is now marked for death.
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps is now streaming on Disney+.
We will protect you.
As a family.
Light them up, Johnny!
Marvel's first family is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
That is fantastic.
And critics say it's one of the best superhero movies of all time.
Oh!
Marvel Studios' The Fantastic Four First Steps, now streaming on Disney+. Rated PG-13.
What time is it, Ben? It's clobber time!
Started as a kid with a team to believe in. Every win and loss left my heart still beating.
Welcome back to Superfan Diaries, and we are here with KC Warrior, a super Kansas City all-sports superfan, and ready to move the discussion to, what do you want to leave behind? What's your legacy? So as we think through that, Chiefs fans are known for being loud, but what does being loud mean to you beyond the stadium?
I think for me, being loud, especially out at Arrowhead, is continuing to build a legacy that that our founder Lamar Hunt had pretty much instilled with this franchise. And so I think, and to some extent, in regards to my legacy, I mean, I don't really think about that as much. I mean, the only thing I can say is that, I just want to be that kind of person that, shares the wisdom that my family had instilled in me, and just to be a positive to any person in this world who's just like me, and like everybody else, just try to put a smile on that person's face, even when times are tough.
Yeah, I keep going back to your point around overcoming negativity. So what do you hope people feel when they see KC Warrior? If you had an example of like when you show up at Arrowhead and you bring the energy, you bring this amazing Ultimate Warrior outfit, what do you hope people feel when they get to see KC Warrior?
I think for me, I want them to like see that, that the KC Warrior is more than a super fan. That the KC Warrior is a person that gives a damn about the important things in life. And with our fan base, and with the fact that our fan base has gotten like so much negative publicity because of everything that had been going on like a few years back and everything, I just want to be the person that, I want to use that positive notoriety that I get from kids and teens and young adults and whatnot, use that and take that and just flip it like, hey, the Chiefs Kingdom is more than just a fan base, that we stick by one another, and we don't look down on anybody, even when we have like other fans come to Arrowhead. We may be tough, we may be blue collar, but we're also a proud bunch. And I think for us as an amazing fan base, that's Midwestern hospitality. I think that's something that other fan bases can't really replicate.
If someone listening right now, KC, with everything you've been saying today on the show, but if someone listening is going through grief right now, what would you want them to hear from you?
What I want them to hear is, no matter what you're going through, either if a person that you cared about the most passed away, or if you're going through a really bad relationship or divorce like I went through, or anything that's involved in mental health and so forth, I just want to say to that person, hey, listen, times are tough, but it's only just temporary. I think in a way it's that pain and that heartbreak just shows, like, need that just to show what your inner will and your inner spirit would be, and pretty much use that heartbreak and that pain that you've endured and turn it into something positive. And as I said, times are difficult, but as I said with my warrior creed, hey, rise above drama, rise above hate, always believe in yourself no matter what you do, and no matter what, put all negativity to waste. Either if it's on people jabbing you on social media or whatnot, put all that to waste and just continue to move forward. And if you do that, you're going to be somebody.
Words of wisdoms, folks. You're not going to hear it any better than what you just heard from KC Warrior today. I really, really appreciate everything you've been saying. And, I think hopefully our listeners are too. And walking away from this with those 4 points is priceless. And I think it's one that we can all live by. So with that, I thank you. And we're now going to switch a little bit of gears here, and it's going to be a very little different type of show now. KC, we've been going through with some of the amazing background, the beautiful things you've done, and now we're getting ready to pump it up, and we're getting ready to join Desert Fan Island. All right, I don't know if you've heard about this before, but it's one of our listeners' favorite things to do with the Superfans. What it is I want you now, switch gears, take a deep breath, get ready. You're now by yourself at Arrowhead Stadium on an island, just you and Arrowhead. You get one movie, one musical artist to be playing ongoing on the big screen and live right in front of you. Yeah, you're like by yourself right down the turf watching. One stadium food. You only get one frosty beverage, and one person. All right, your first question. One movie. What is it, KC?
Ghostbusters.
God, that's a good one. See, that would be fun to listen to and watch in a stadium too, because it's just such a fun one. Which Ghostbusters? Number one?
Yes.
All right, let's go number one. All right, next question. One musical artist or band would you want playing?
Genesis.
Oh, wow. I dig it. Let's just play a little. I wish we had some Phil Collins. I could just like pump in here. Excuse me. Genesis. A little bit of Genesis to pop in here real quick. All right. One stadium food.
It's no question. It's hot dogs.
There you go. Basic. Can't go wrong with a hot dog. Ketchup and mustard or plain?
Both.
Let's go. All right. One beverage.
One beverage. Does it have to be alcoholic or non-alcoholic?
No, it could be anything you like. A lot of people don't even drink anymore, Zachariah. So any drink.
Well, it would have to be ice cold lemonade.
I love it. I love it. All right. And you get one person to enjoy all this with.
Obviously, it's my lovely girlfriend. She's the most amazing person that's helped me through like so much in the 2 years that we've been dating. So
I love it.
I want to give her a shout out for share this moment with her.
Well, you and Jennifer are going to have a good time listening to Genesis, having hot dogs and drinking lemonades, so that's going to be good stuff. All right. It's now time to join everybody in listening to the buzzer beater rapid fires. What we're going to be doing right here, Zachariah, is I'm going to ask you questions. Just throw out whatever comes to mind as you're thinking about him. And obviously there are a little bit of teams, focused on the Chiefs, but too difficult of questions. And we're trying to get a good range of your fandom. All right. Number one. Most unforgettable Chiefs game you've ever attended?
This is no question. It's the 13-second game against the Bills back a few years back.
Love it. Love it. All right. Which rival fan base brings out the loudest KC Warrior?
Well, it's against the Raiders.
I love it.
Because my grandfather had taught me not just be loud, but to always hate the Raiders.
I love it. I love it. All right. Where are the best seats in the stadium? Upper, mid, level, end zone? Where are the best in your opinion?
Oh, that is a good question. If you want an honest answer, any place that you sit at Arrowhead is always good. You always get to see the action wherever. So there's not a bad seat in the house.
And not to mention, you can have any seat become a good, what I'll call value, as well as you can see. You also can lose your hearing in any seat at Arrowhead Stadium as one of the loudest stadiums in the world. Yep. All right. Next question. How much total time do you spend per week thinking about watching or talking about your team during the season?
Oh, no question. Even not just at work, talking about Chiefs football with my coworkers, but also at home, even listening to radio stations talking about the Chiefs. And
I mean, this show right here, this is an easy hour right now.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think? What do you think? 20 hours a week? At least a couple of hours a day, I'm guessing.
More or less.
Got it. How many games do you attend in person each season?
Do I attend? I try to attend, me being a season ticket holder, I try to attend as much as I can. The only times that I don't is if it's for either if it's around Thanksgiving or Christmas, because for me, family is very important.
All right. We're going to get a little personal in this next question, but a lot of people out there want to know the answer. How much do you spend in money per season on this team, including tickets, your makeup, your outfits, your jerseys, patches? Like, how much do you think you spend a year on KC Warrior?
Oh, that's a good question.
I mean, I know season tickets are not cheap. I don't know. I would imagine season tickets alone are probably $5,000 a year. I mean, these are expensive.
I would say close to 8,000 or 9,000, not just with the tickets, but also with parking, and also doing going to play like places.
Oh yeah. Oh,
bars
away games. That's $2,000 right there.
Even at away games. I haven't gone to a Chiefs road game yet, but what I do is I go to a bar or a pub around the Kansas City area to watch games away from Arrowhead, and also bring the Arrowhead energy. Like if it's at Twin Peaks or the Landing in Liberty, or even at Power Light, add that at that as well, and also buying some of the paint and accessories to do my face and so forth. So it's around the 8,000, 9,000 range.
That's expected. That's expected. All right. How intense are your game day rituals? How much time do you have to spend to prepare? Like 1 hour, 2 hours?
Well, depending on what design I do with the paint, it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to do this. And keep in mind, when I first started doing this, the first paint job that I did with this when I first started in 2017, it was horrible. It was absolutely horrible. So
it looks great right now.
Yeah, it took months of trial and error to do this, and but that plus putting these on, and also putting my jersey on, and pants, and even like some custom made Warrior shoes that I had made for me a few years back. And so it's a tedious process, but when I put the paint on, heck, I'm ready to go. I'm ready to fire up the Arrowhead crowd, whether it's at Arrowhead or if it's at
a bar.
At a bar and everything.
All right, I got a 2-part question for you next. Number 1, how many current players can you name without Googling? And then what player do you all need to trade to get back to the playoffs next year? Or specifically, what player do you want to bring in? So first question is, how many current players can you legitimately, without Googling, do you think you could name?
I would name probably over 20.
Wow. I can tell you what, if someone said, tell me for the Tennessee Vols, how many, I think all my friends would know I'd probably get 2 or 3. And I'm sure I'd be saying someone had already been NIL'd to another team. 20 is incredible. That's outstanding. All right. What player do you all need on the team to get you back to the playoffs and get back to the Super Bowl?
I know the draft is coming up in a few months, and the Chiefs have the 9th pick. What I would love for them to do in regards to free agency is get a running back, because for one, I know that Andy Reid hasn't been good like in regards to like getting like a good running back, even from his days of coaching the Eagles. But our running game has pretty much suffered. So I think just getting a decent running back in free agency would help Patrick Mahomes out, considering he's still rehabbing his ACL injury. And then after that, just go from there to the draft, which I would think for their 9th pick, either get a defensive lineman or an offensive lineman, whichever works to help this team, plus get a running back in free agency.
Zachariah, KC Warrior isn't about a costume or a team. It's about love that didn't disappear. It transformed. And because of that, a lot of people feel less alone. Thank you for sharing your story, honoring your grandfather, serving your community, and reminding us that positivity is a choice. This is the Superfan Diaries, and I'm J.R. Green. See photos, clips, and highlights of KC Warrior and all featured Superfans at superfandiaries.com. Follow, leave a review, and nominate your favorite Superfan. And remember, if you make one person smile today, you've had a great day. Make them laugh, even better. Thank you for listening, and goodbye.